Good to see you back, Kayne. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel all right. It's been a bit of a tough week, but for me, getting back to work and getting back to my desk is the best way to recover. I don't think my wife Sophie agrees that I should be back at work this week, and my surgeon would definitely have a thing or two to say about it. But there's a lot going on at the moment, and me being in bed at home is not going to be helpful in this moment and in this time.
Yeah, because you're not meant to be off for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I was due back in January. Yeah, but look, if I was employed by a big corporation, no doubt I'd be taking my 6 weeks paid leave. But you know, I obviously work for myself, and if I don't get up and I don't get to work, then no one's going to do it for me. So reality is the other thing is I actually can't just sit down. So I tried to come back to work on Monday and failed dramatically. I kind of pulled myself together, and I had another go at it. So I spent the day in the office, and I was fine, and I'm back again today. So look, just take every day at a time, and hopefully, if I get tired and a bit worn out, I'll just go home. So.
Well, talking of work, didn't you have a really important phone call? Was it last night?
Yes, I mean that was probably why I got back to work so quickly, is because the Isthmian League met last night. So all of the chairmans at step 3 and 4, chaired by Nick, the Isthmian League chairman, and the CEO Kelly. We had a 2-hour meeting last night on Zoom, so I kind of always knew I had to be ready for that call. So that it was a very important call. We were talking about the issues of the restart, and I think whether or not we're going to restart the leagues at step 3 and 4. It was really interesting to kind of understand the thought process, and it's not just a case of, like, I was going into that call thinking, well, could if people don't want to restart, can mini leagues be formed? The reality is, knowing now, having kind of digested the call, there's a consensus. They have to take a consensus across all clubs at step 3 and 4, and the reality is, for this season to complete, well, everyone, in every season there's promotions and relegations, and I think that the challenge and what they're looking at the moment is, I think the National League have said, unless everyone at step 3 finishes, they can't do the promotion to step 2. So it has to be across the country. Everyone in all leagues at step 3 must complete the season for promotion to take place to step 2. That then drops down, and that will then create the positions for teams at step 4 to take promotion to step 3. So there's a real issue at step 3 and 4. That issue doesn't seem to exist at 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are going to go ahead with their restructure. So at the end of this season, a new, and that's going to happen. So it seems like step 5 and 6 are going to continue. Well, I know Sanders are going to continue, but 3 and 4 are sitting in the kind of the wilderness. It was an interesting call, lots of different views, and I thought, I disagree with some of. I think some people were saying on the call there's an overriding feeling of one that we all want to get back playing at any cost, and I disagree with that, because look, as a club, we voted to restart. So it was put to the vote. We got our vote ballot last night, and we voted instantly to get restarted under any circumstances. So we as a club, we would start behind closed doors. We would start with hospitality closed. So literally, we will restart, as Bracknell Town will restart under any scenario, because for me, it's really important for players to continue to play. Football's here because of the fans, no doubt. We do it for our fans, but the challenge is, us, the leaders of clubs, we've got to keep our players going through this period, so they're still there when we get through this pandemic. We're fortunate. We at the moment are allowed fans in, but that could change. We could become a tier 3 location, and fans couldn't be let in. And we as a club would be ready for that. We would embrace that. We would make sure we could continue in that eventuality. We can continue in that eventuality. So we're on a sound footing, and we have a very robust kind of commercial model that would allow us to see the season through on any terms. Unfortunately, clubs that currently sit in tier 3 that haven't had revenue for so much of the year, and I do appreciate it, because our revenue over this financial year has been, well, it's scary. The drop in our revenue is scary. We have lost tens and tens of thousands of pounds this year in lost revenue. So I get that, and I understand that, and I do sympathise with clubs. But I think clubs in this moment, we've got to, if clubs have got to cut their cloth accordingly, and I think that the challenge that we face is, as we sit in the middle ground, our fan base will get picked off by step 1 and 2, because they're going to now let fans back in. And even step 5 and 6 are going to pick off our fan base at step 3 and 4. And our player base, non-contracted players, are also going to get picked off. The best ones are going to go up towards the National League, and the younger ones that are wanting game time are naturally going to go and compete in there's a danger they'll go and compete at step 5. So there's a real risk. There's a real risk, and there was a lot of talk of fairness on the call last night. Well, look, one thing that's true in life isn't fair. Simply isn't fair. So if we choose not to go forward, and if we choose not to play games, then whilst that will be fair to everyone at step 3, it will be fair within our circles and within our peers, but it won't be fair if you take then a step back and look at non-league football as a whole. It's imbalanced. You've got a governing body in the FA allowing certain levels to continue, and really hanging out step 3 and 4 to dry. Clubs will die. That's the reality, and clubs will go to the wall if we don't resume. And that's clubs. That's you can hear it in the frustration in a number of chairmans and a number of people on the call last night. Some clubs this is gonna kill them. It's already been a challenging year as it is. This will significant. It will be significant. It will hurt a lot of clubs. So fairness. The word fairness. Look, you can't underestimate this virus. It's no one's fault. It's no one running these clubs, businesses, life, anyone in the UK. It's no one's fault. But we've all had to adapt our businesses, and we've all had to invest significantly to make all of our sites COVID secure and COVID compliant. And we've had to put new turnstiles in to make sure that they're COVID compliant. And we over the last kind of month and a half, we've had visits from the police, we've had visits from environmental health. We have worked over and above and spent vast sums of money to make sure we're COVID secure, and to potentially be facing the fact, nothing, in my opinion. So if the vote goes forward, the board are going to convene tomorrow. They're going to decide. They want a unanimous. It's not just going to be, if it's 51% say restart, that's not going to be enough. It has to be a significant number. They couldn't share what a significant number is, which is laughable. They should be coming onto that call with absolute hard facts, and they can't. And it's incredibly poor leadership on the league's part. They need to be absolutely certain when you come onto calls like that we need to get 65% confirming a restart to restart. I massively sympathise with some of the people on the call that have lost people within this pandemic. It's horrendous. It is horrendous. But if we give up, if we don't fight as human beings, if we give up the fight, we give up. Well, you just shouldn't give up. You've got to keep fighting and got to keep finding a way to get through this. And football is an outlet for a lot of people. And the reality is, I want it back. More importantly, I've got 30 people that work in and around my first team. They need it. They need to play competitive football. And if they don't, that's a real challenge and a massive issue for them. It'll be a challenge for them, not to play football, and there'll only be so long that they won't play football before they, as loyal as they are to my football club, they want to play football. So if football's going on at step 1 and 2 and they're good enough, they're going to go and try that. And if they're younger, they're going to go down to steps 5. And that's the frustrating thing is. So when you talk about, and I say the word fairness, if we want to take a fair approach, the fair thing would be to suspend football at all levels in the non-league. That won't happen. Steps 1 and 2 are part of the elite game. That's absolutely not going to happen. So the next fairest thing would be to say, okay, all non-elite football then stops. But then that's not fair to all the young players out there in youth teams that want to play. So you can't, how can I potentially this weekend, I'm allowed to put a friendly on, my youth teams are allowed to play, but my first team can't play a competitive match. It's just mental. It is bonkers. It's just craziness. You can't sit and blame the FA because they're reacting like we're reacting to an ever-evolving mishmash of contradictions from our poor government. And but the fact of the matter is, we're having a call at 7 o'clock on the 1st of December about restarting our league when we come out of lockdown on the 2nd. Why are we leaving it so late to have these calls? We could have had these calls immediately after the tier announcement. We should be quicker. And this morning I'm getting guidance from the FA. Their handling of the non-league is, again, they're not at fault in terms of that they are they're dealing with an ever-evolving environment, but we are their members. And we look to them, and they're our governing body, and the way they're governing the non-league is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Their handling of this situation is completely and utterly disgusting. It cannot go on in this vein, in this manner. We have to make now in this moment better decisions around, because the reality, if we're going to, I suspect tomorrow the vote will be that we don't restart, and we'll come back and we'll have another Zoom call in January. Well, nothing will change between now and January. We will still be in tier systems, and I think most news feeds, and I'm sure the government have said it, that's going to continue till the spring. Potential for another lockdown. So if we don't restart in December and we pause until January, nothing's going to change. No material change is going to happen. So what we're effectively saying is in January we'll get back together, and everyone in tier 3 is still going to say they don't want to restart. So we won't restart in January. Well, that's it. I can't see, if someone needs to step up and say, we need some leadership. We need some absolute firm leadership and a presentation to say, these are the clear permutations. If we don't restart by this date, we will cease and we'll come back in 21, 22. It needs decisive, clear, concise leadership from the FA, from the leagues, so we can get out and give some firm updates to our fans, our players, our youth teams, our youth players, because at the moment we're just behind the curve on all of our announcements. We're always behind the curve, and it just makes us look stupid, and it's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. We can't make good announcements because we haven't got good information to make such announcements. So look, I mean, I sound like I'm definitely ranting, but you know, it's really the most frustrating time to lead a club, and it doesn't need to be, because look, if the FA come out and say, right, it's done, 2021's done, we can deal with that, and we can come back and start making preparations for next year. But with the uncertainty, what do you do? What do you do? And the most bizarre thing in all this, we may hear tomorrow that our season is paused until January, but we're still going to play an FA Trophy game on Tuesday. It just beggars belief. It beggars belief. It just is absolutely. You just laugh. It's laughable. It's absolutely laughable. But again, you come back to it in life. I totally get the argument. There are sometimes far more important things in life, and people's health and safety is the number one priority. Absolutely. But let's make some decisive decisions, some certain decisions about how we are going to get to the other side of this, because this is with us, whether we like it or not, until this vaccine is rolled out. And if you look at the way that they handled track and trace, and if you look at the way lots of things have been handled in this pandemic, the reality is we're putting our faith in their ability, the government's ability, to roll out a vaccine in the next 3 to 4 months. That in itself is laughable. These guys, this is the same people that shut the country down and said people can't drink in bars beyond 10 o'clock, but wanted to keep their bar in the House of Commons open. That's the type of person that is making these decisions. Horrendously poor decision makers. And the reality is, they don't care for football. The majority of them don't really care for football. You just had to look at it when this lockdown announcement was made. Boris Johnson's watching the rugby. He delays an announcement to the nation so he can watch the rugby. I mean, it just sums it up. Completely sums it up. So I think the reality is we will support whatever our league say, but our league now must be decisive. They must take control of the situation. They've got to, firmly give us a blueprint and a way forward and a route map out of this nightmare. That's, in my opinion, the job of our league and the job of the FA. They must devise a route map out of this nightmare, so clubs can plan and prepare for what the future may bring, whatever that may be.
So what you're asking for is just a decision,
and
then a help to how to get out of it.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, it's a decision more than anything. We want a decision. Now, I think, and we're going to get that tomorrow, right? We are going to get that decision tomorrow. So we're going to get that tomorrow. It's either going to continue or it's not. So we'll get that decision. But it's the route map out. Nothing will change in the next month. So we'll have another vote. Nothing will change. We'll still be in tears. It may be worse because everyone's gone out over Christmas and mixed and socialised. It's probably going to be worse. So, the probability is things will be worse in January, not better. So we'll have another vote then. And that's another delay. At what point does it become if you're getting into February, March, having played less than 10 games, what hope is there of completing a season? And if you get to that point, are you going to have any squads left? Then is your squad going to be left to complete the season because it's going to have been picked off? Just need something absolutely decisive. Like, if the season doesn't restart by this point, then it won't restart because we won't have enough time to play the games. We need clear, decisive leadership from our governing bodies, to show us some permutations and some route maps away from this nightmare, so everyone can plan within their respective clubs. And we as a club, we would back whatever it is, but it's just, we now need to know. We now need to know what that route map looks like. We can't keep going into Zoom calls. Oh, what do you think? Well, everyone's going to have an opinion, and everyone's opinion is going to be broad. And I think everyone's unanimous in this is a horrible virus. All unanimous in that. We're all unanimous in this year. Everyone has lost people this year, and it's been horrendous when you lose people. I've had 3 people very, very close to me pass over the summer in very, very quick succession, and within my immediate family, and it was horrendous. Not being able to go into hospitals, not being able to go to funerals in numbers, not to be able to pay your respects. Truly, I get that, and on that call last night, you could see the emotion. People that have lost people very close to them. But this is not now a time for emotion. You shouldn't be making decisions on emotion. You should push the emotion to one side and make a decision based on the long-term health of football at our level and at step 3 and step 4, and start to plan and prepare a way forward. And look, life can be horrendous sometimes, and we're in one of them points where it's horrendous. But we have to plan and prepare a way out, in my opinion.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Kayne. Nice to speak to you.
Superb. Sorry, it's a bit of a rant, but I'm passionate, and I just believe that we need some level of direction and leadership, and very certain leadership, and I think that's lacking in quite clear terms. That's lacking.
No problem. Thank you.